Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Herp Monday number 44 and we have a good one for you today. Today's Herp that we're going to be doing is a super interesting one. Very common throughout the United States, but maybe not a lot of people know what they're actually holding whenever they find one of these things. Today we are going to be talking about the Eastern Newt. Eastern Newt, or scientific name Notothalmus viridescens. Again, that is Notothalmus viridescens. It has another common name. It is actually a subspecies called the red-spotted newt. And you can see in this picture on why it might be called that. But there's a lot of other interesting facts about this. Something else, in terms of higher classifications, it is part of the family Salamandridae, which is the family of true salamanders. We've done this family quite a few times over the course of this series. In terms of its range, it's native from the eastern US all the way from Canada south to Florida, and then basically all the way to Texas and straight up past the Great Lakes. So they do have a very, very wide range. They are found in both coniferous forests and in deciduous forests, meaning basically they are found everywhere that there are forests and that there's, more importantly, that there's water. They really need a moist environment with either temporary or permanent bodies of water. And it does appear that they prefer muddy habitats. So muddy, leaf litter habitats, and that is really what these species really seem to prefer. Now, it is not a large salamander. These grow to be about 2.5 to 5 inches, which is about 7 to 12.5 centimeters long. So not incredibly large, especially when we consider that the tail is probably 25% of this species' length. Now, this species does have 3 life stages. Well, technically it has 4 life stages. Your first life stage would be your eggs. So you have to think about that. And then your second stage would be your larva stage. So your larva stage is an aquatic stage. And after they hatch, they have these really feathery gills, with this smooth olive green skin that's really speckled. They do not leave the pond where they are hatched, or whatever body of water they were hatched in. They have these narrow bladed tails, and the larvae typically have a stripe, and you can kind of see it on this one. They typically have a stripe that extends from the snout through the eye to the gills, and you can kind of see it here. It's not like super prevalent, but you still see it. Something else to note, you can kind of see the colored spots in between their black speckles. But so this is their aquatic larva stage. Then after 2 to 5 months, they develop into an intermediate stage, or an intermediate state called an eft. And this is the picture that I showed you before. This one and this one is an eft. And so your eft is a kind of like an intermediary stage. And these are the ones where you're most commonly going to find this species. This eft is usually extremely bright, really bright, especially this picture right here. This is a very bright orange coloration. These bright red orange spots that are outlined in black. It's really indicative. And you can even see here, even though this one isn't as strikingly bold as the other one, you can tell that you can still see these bright spots, these black, and you can definitely imagine that you could find this relatively easy. Now, as we've said in previous videos, this is an example of aposematic coloring. And aposematic coloring is when a animal instead of trying to hide, it basically says, I'm going to be toxic, and I'm not going to try and hide, but I'm going to warn other animals away. Be bright, be bold. And that's where this one is. It has a lot of tetrodotoxin in its tissues, which is really toxic, especially to crayfish and fish, which would be something that really would like to eat the aquatic stages of this. Now, as an eft, this is when they're traveling to other ponds. So this is how this species spreads as far as it does. So, their aquatic larva stage are really confined to this. Well, this intermediate stage, this F, is when they go into a terrestrial habitat, where they're spreading out, searching for other ponds. And they'll do it constantly over the course of the time that they're in this stage. Something interesting to note about this species, they do have a little magnetoreception system that orients themselves. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but they're actually able to orient themselves to constantly be moving away from like their home pond to make sure that they're going to new, fresh habitats and spreading as far as they do. This is why there hasn't been any particular genetic problems with this species as other salamanders might have gotten. Now, it does exhibit the same susceptibilities to habitat fragmentation and habitat degradation that plenty of other species get derived from, but you can, it's definitely a little more common, and definitely this stage really helps it do that. Now, after 2 to 3 years, it will actually metamorphose from an eft to an aquatic adult. Now, these aquatic adults have this kind of salamandery skin that you would see here. They have this really dull olive green back, kind of this yellower belly. They develop into that blade-like tail. They don't always have these spots, but they usually have these spots as well. But they're usually a lot duller in color, or they're really dark on the back and lighter on the belly with these black spots. But the adults really do seem to vary in terms of coloration, but they get that traditional kind of slimy salamander color, and salamandery skin, I guess I should say. That dull olive green bag, the dull yellow belly, they become really dull. But this is their primary reproductive stage, when the males will exhibit plenty of courtship rituals, and then females, if they are receptive, the males will get in a state of ambiplexis, which is basically where the male holds on to the female and then will deposit a sperm pocket right near the female in the hopes that the female will pick it up. Now, the males do get territorial during reproduction times, and so the males will fight off other males. If a male is not successful in defending a territory, it will actually go and try and deposit a sperm pocket near the female in the hopes that she picks up his instead of picking up the other males. Now, in all 3 of these stages, they are carnivorous. They're primarily eating insects. However, the adults in the S will really go after some worms, fish eggs. They will really go after anything. They're kind of voracious, honestly, in terms of but still super interesting. Now, something interesting to note, we kind of have 2 interesting facts to end this video on. Some populations actually remain in the F stage permanently, and they only enter into the pools to breed. So essentially, there are some populations that just never leave this stage, and they will go into the pools to breed and then leave once they're successful. Which is why you can, because these are not only the terrestrial stages, but some populations actually stay in this stage. You can imagine why people are not very aware of the fact that they have an aquatic larva stage, or that they have an adult stage. And even they think that this is the adult. Well, that's not actually the case. So that is something super neat. Basically, the populations that it seems to happen is really determinant on the availability of water, constant water levels, and nutrition availability. Now, something else that is interesting to note is that some larvae have actually been found in the pitchers of the carnivorous plant Sarracenia purpurea, which is a pitcher plant. I have no explanation on why they have been found in there, but apparently some larvae have actually been found in the pitcher plants, which is an extremely carnivorous plant. Highly suggest you go look into this. It's really interesting. I won't give you any details, but really cool. Newt, definitely encourage people to look at them. Just please be careful. These do have some toxins, but they're still a really neat animal. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. And peace.